So I finally finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I just want to start off this video by saying, Odin. All right, please don't hurt too bad. Please. Okay then, that's gonna be fun. Oh God. Wow.
Get ready.
Nope, not today. Not today. Hell no.
You're going down.
What? Dude, you just hit me once. Why are you doing this again already? Oh my God, I'm so close. I'm so close. Come on. Give me that. Give me that. No. Come on. Give me that. Yes! Oh my God. Holy crap, bro. Goodness gracious. Yo, what up? Russ Practically here. And like I said, I have finally finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And when I say finish the game, I mean the main story. Some thoughts have probably changed. A lot of them have stayed the same. And I got some new thoughts that have been cooking up. But we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to start off with probably the main thing everybody wants to talk about, which is the ending of this game. The ending in this game is kind of crazy. Also, before I dive any deeper into this stuff, I will say this whole video is just going to be spoilers. So when I saw that ending, it didn't really move me one way or the other at first. It's more the fact that there was just a lot going on and I was trying to process everything. So I didn't think it was like good or bad. I was just trying to figure out what the hell I was seeing. I think they were doing a little bit too much to try and be, I guess, shocking and maybe even confusing a little bit. They were trying a bit too much to try and, you know, keep you guessing at the very end, which is something they did in the original game or in remake as well. But here it seemed a lot more aggressive, at least in the first game. Yeah, it was confusing, but at the same time, like there was enough there to like actually get a grasp of what was happening. This time around, it didn't really seem like they were trying to be too clear on anything whatsoever, besides maybe like one or two things. Like, okay, the worlds are converging. That was one thing. Everything else, I kind of had to go back and watch and rewatch and watch again and then hear other opinions on. So I've sat with this for a couple of days and like watched other videos of what other people have thought. It's kind of, it makes a bit more sense of what they're going for, you know, in terms of other people's interpretations. So yeah, I don't think the ending was good or bad. I think it was kind of just like, okay, it definitely left a lot more questions than it did answer any questions that we had. And that way I don't really feel that satisfied with it. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like it was a terrible ending to where, you know, I want them to fix it. So Aerith dies. I know a lot of us were kind of hoping that maybe we'd save her, but no, she definitely dies. And even that was kind of hard to really figure out because the way they did it didn't really, you know, it didn't really try to give a concrete answer of whether she was dead or not and what we were seeing on the screen. From what I'm gathering from like looking at other things, yeah, she's definitely dead. Possibly it's just Cloud not being able to get over the fact that that's actually done, but the rest of the party knows that she's dead. And even that moment, like, I feel like it lost kind of its impact, or at least in the traditional scene, it lost its impact. So, you know, the scene where Sephiroth comes and like stabs her in the back or whatever, that scene doesn't hit as hard because of how much they're trying to, you know, confuse the hell out of you with the scene switching back and forth between, oh, she's dead and she's not dead, and blood, there's no blood. There's a lot going on in this ending, and it's just, yeah, it doesn't make it any better. But the scene before that, where she basically tells Cloud goodbye and Sephiroth is coming in right behind her, I think that is probably the true death scene. And it actually felt that way because you're just getting done with like a giant date that you and Aerith are going on, and like inside of this, for lack of better words, you know, dream sequence that you're in. And that's her way of getting to spend time with Cloud like she wanted before she ultimately has to go away. And then you got the whole thing with Zack and Cloud somehow meet up together. I mean, I guess this has to do with the worlds converging, all the different timelines or universes. This is basically a multiverse we're in now, or it was. Am I making sense with this? Because I feel like the more I'm talking about this, like the less sense I'm making. But, you know, hang in, we're trying to get there. We're going to get there, I promise. Zack's whole deal, like his story is still not answered really either. Honestly, Zack is still left in a place where we're just like, what the hell is going on with Zack? The whole party starts having these flashes, or at least Tifa does. You know, the flashes that Cloud would have throughout the game. Tifa has them at the very end, which to me seems like as these worlds are converging, the memories of like all the different versions of them are hitting the party all at once, because I don't think it's just her. I think it's like the rest of them too. They just showed her. It'll be cool to see what goes on with that. I think that if there was one aspect of the ending that I thought was cool, it was that, you know, of the party kind of realizing this is bigger than they kind of thought. But yeah, and then we get what people are calling Omni Aerith or Omega Aerith or whatever you want to call her. But yeah, I mean, like I said, in the end, I think the ending, it's definitely something you have to sit with and think about and just like watch other stuff and like try to form your own opinion of it. Like I said, I do think it leaves a lot more questions, good questions I'm definitely curious about, and questions that hopefully get resolved in the final game. We thought a lot of questions were going to be answered here from Remake, and to be honest, not too much was answered here. To even go on like a little bit of a further tangent, like people were upset that Remake was changing things, which I mean they sprinkled stuff here and there in the middle, like throughout the game, right? But the only real major change was like at the very end. The same happened here too, and even then I'd say even to a lesser extent here, the only changes really happened at the very end. The rest of this game, like the story that you remember, is pretty much the same that happens here, minus like there's definitely expansions on different story beats and plot elements, like the Gi, which were kind of like a throwaway thing in the original. They have a whole subplot in this game. Gungaga, there's a whole plot there with like they call them weapons in this game, but I'm not sure if they're actually weapons. It seem like kind of like means because there's multiple of them. Granted, they're big as hell, but still, they don't seem like, they're not the main weapons that we're accustomed to, so that was kind of confusing, but I don't think they are supposed to be. I think they're the main ones we know are still there. They're just like a level below them. But there was a whole plot with that in Gungaga with Tifa and, you know, her confronting her past, which was something that Cloud had to figure out in the original game, but now it's given to Tifa here, which it'll probably still happen to Cloud later, but here Tifa has to deal with that traumatic experience in a similar way. And yeah, it's just a whole bunch of that. A lot of just expanded plot elements that don't take away from what the original story was doing. It just adds to it. And that kind of leads into the fact that everybody in this game has a character arc. Like if you have a favorite, they change in some way. Tifa, Barret, and Aerith, you know, confronting their past. Tifa with, you know, the Nibelheim incident. Barret with dying and Shinra kind of ruining his home country or his home village or whatever. Aerith and, you know, her mom, and just coming to terms with who she actually is and, you know, what she ultimately has to do. Yuffie, and honestly, Yuffie feels like she probably has some of the most growth because she changes from just being a girl fixated on materia to, you know, actually wanting to do right by everybody else that she's around. Like her interactions with Barret honestly feel like what Barret would be like as a dad to a teenage girl. Like they literally seem like they have like a father-daughter dynamic. Red was, I don't know. Okay, so Red was a shock. I don't know why. Okay, I don't know why I was surprised, because knowing about him, it shouldn't have surprised me. But the reveal of his character's actual voice, really, they got me. They got me on that one.
You can let them through. They're good people, I promise. After all, they're the reason I'm here.
What in the hell was that?
When I'm sitting on, I was like, you know what? It does make sense, because, you know, they tell you that he's only like, what, 6 or something. Like he's a kid.
I'm not a child anymore. I'm 48.
40 what?
He's putting on a front this entire time he's been with us to make it seem like he's, you know, cooler and wiser and wanting to be more accepted by the party. Aerith is the only one that hears his normal voice, because we hear it sporadically throughout the game and we're just like, who the f is she talking to? And then Red suddenly comes in and is like, okay, well, we know Red's in there, but who else is talking? I mean, no, that's Red talking in his natural ass voice.
Take your time.
Well, the water won't turn off.
It's like, damn, that, you know what? That it makes sense. I should have seen it coming, but oh my gosh. But it's cool because, like I said, he has his own insecurities about himself, right? So he's put on this front to seem cool to everybody. which is kind of similar to Cloud in a way. Cloud has this front that he puts on to be like a strong leader type. But yeah, after you learn about his story or learn about his past, he accepts who he is because he has to deal with the fact that everything he knew about himself was honestly completely wrong. So he has to come to terms with who he is, and everybody else, you know, comes to terms with what he is too. And now he then he becomes more comfortable in the party and just starts talking in his regular voice. So that was cool too. And like I said, the voice switch really helps with that. And I think also, if I'm not mistaken, in the times that Red has been voice acted, has he ever had like a high-pitched young voice? Because I feel like he's always been portrayed with an older voice. So that was probably also something that, you know, led to the complete shock, is that he's never had a younger voice to my recollection. If he has, let me know. But I don't ever remember him having a regular voice. So the fact that they did that was kind of like, oh shit. Zack is honestly just Zack. He doesn't really grow. He kind of stays who he is. For me, he don't need to change. Zack is cool the way he is. Like, Zack is my favorite character, if you don't know. I will say the new VA for Zack is growing on me. He's getting better. I'm definitely starting to like his portrayal, or I guess his delivery or performance, a lot better now. I still think I prefer the original dude, but definitely in this game, he doesn't come off as like a bratty, I guess, person. I hate to say like bratty adult, but that's kind of what it is. But he doesn't come off that way. Vincent shows up. Every time Vincent is on screen, it's usually a good time, and they kind of even make him more humorous, or it's more obvious of his humor.
Keycard.
There.
Oh.
Which is kind of crazy. It's kind of weird to see. Vincent, you wouldn't really think is that humor, especially in other portrayals. Vincent hasn't been as funny, if funny at all. This time around, they definitely make an effort to make him seem more human than vampire. And then as well as Sid this time around is pretty different to who he was in the original game, but I kind of like it, honestly. Previously, it was like he was kind of like an angry, brash white guy. For good reason, but this time around, at least in this game, he's not like that. He's definitely more of a kinder spirited person in this one. Now that could change when we possibly see his backstory in the next game, if they even do the same thing, which I feel like they will. You know, they've kind of been sticking to the script as they've been making these games, so I don't see why they really go off of it too much, but we'll see. I will say that I wish that, as far as Vincent and Sid are concerned, we know they weren't going to be playable, but for the amount of time that they're actually, you know, with you, it would have been cool if they, you know, kind of did something with them like they did in Red and Remake, where they didn't really need to be like part of the active party or whatever, but they could have been, you know, portions where they're just there, you know, helping out. Now, I guess maybe the fact that we have so many damn party members, like, did they really need to try and add them just for the end of the game? I mean, no, I guess not really, but I don't know. It's just weird, you know, having them stand there, like as you go into a building or a dungeon or whatever, they just lean against the wall and be like, all right, we'll see you when you come out. And I was like, or you could just go with me, like, come on. Yeah, so it was just weird seeing them like kind of piss off whenever we were somewhere, or Sid just waits at the ship and is like, all right, I'll be here when you get back. Cloud, I said earlier, was probably my favorite part of this game, and to more or less he still is, but his character definitely goes through a transformation in this game. Yeah, Cloud kind of gets more and more fucked up as this game goes on. At first it was like funny how stoic and, you know, unbothered he was.
Another loner. As if one wasn't enough of a pain in my ass.
Yeah, one's more than enough. You mean me?
And then it starts to become a little bit overboard because, you know, he's kind of being possessed by the Genova cells in his body. Because there was a point where like Aerith is trying to like rally the party and like give everybody motivation. And when she's done talking, Cloud just kind of...
Not even him.
Are you finished? Damn! Hey,
Yo, what the fuck?
It's just kind of a dick. Like, holy. When Aerith talks about Zack, he kind of disses Zack.
Leaving you out in the cold like this? Forget about that loser.
Hey, fuck you, man!
There is no need for that. Yeah, and it gets worse and worse as the time goes on. And I think that's probably what the point was of his arc, was to show him like, you know, more lighthearted, you know, for him at least. And then to show that he's going further and further down a dark path. Like, homeboy swipes at Tifa, you know, because he's being possessed. He almost kills, well, he does kill like a lot of the Shinra people, you know, little narrative dissonance, whatever. But in terms of like, you know, on-screen cutscenes, he starts to kill some of the Shinra troopers brutally. And then even the Turks, he attempts to try and kill them. And then the whole thing with the black materia and Sephiroth, like, he is obsessed with getting this black materia. He kind of turns into having a one-track mind, even worse than the Yuffie does. And even during the ending, like, what it seems like he is so not there, and that Aerith's constantly popping up in front of him because he can see her but nobody else can, and he's talking to her like she's like, you know, still part of the party damn near. So it's like, you know, he's worse off than he ever was in the original game. That's probably another change that we need to see where they're going with it, because it's kind of creepy. And then the whole black materia, he kind of just hides it from the rest of the party at the, like, right before the credits roll. So yeah, he's in a very, very, very bad place at the end of this game. That's something we have to wait to see. His is probably the only story arc that doesn't feel like it has a conclusion, really. Him and Zack, the theme of this game is definitely like relationships and teamwork, and it's all, like I said, it's all throughout the story. It's all throughout the character interactions that you have, and it's all throughout the gameplay as well. I mentioned this before. Character bonds are a big part of the gameplay. They really try to instill that in every mechanic that you use in this game. The synergy abilities, the synergy skills, the whole folio system is basically just the upgrade system for your party and the things they can do together. There's even more items now that let you heal the party as a whole instead of like single individual. And the devs came out and said, yeah, like, you know, we really wanted to emphasize the bonds that these characters have. That was like a main driving point as they were making this game, and you can, like I say, you can really feel that. Other aspects of the gameplay, combat, I still have pretty similar thoughts on from my previous video. If you haven't seen my thoughts on that, go watch that video. I'm not gonna go too deep into it here. I think it's fun. My favorite characters to use are still pretty much the same. I like using Red a lot more. I did get used to him a lot more, so I enjoy using him. Kate Sith, yeah, I mean, after trying them out a bit, I still didn't really care to use them all that much. I got better with them, but it still didn't really hit for me like that. But you will learn to use everybody how they're supposed to be used, because almost every character has a dungeon for themselves, or they're split off into groups where, you know, their capabilities are like pushed to the forefront. Kate Sith is definitely one of those dungeons. That shit, oh my god. That part was not much fun. I didn't care for that dungeon. Shinra Manor, yeah, part of Shinra Manor. I could have done without that. That was not great. And to be honest, it's not much because of Kate Sith's combat gameplay. It's more of how they just made the dungeon. You're throwing boxes and trying to hit stuff, but the way they made the controller to throw the boxes is kind of absolutely f***ing stupid. Like. And on top of that, the Moogle doesn't move around that smoothly. Moving around, getting the stuff, it just wasn't fun. And then I wasn't that great at playing as him. And so when you have to face enemies as Kate Sith by yourself, you gotta learn quick. And I definitely died like quite a few times.
Got his ass!
Wait. This is not a boss fight right now. You can't be doing this to me. Can I please get Aerith and Barrett back? Please don't make me do this with just Kate. I don't want to. Please don't.
I'm warning you.
Oh, son of a. Because they're not really, they're more like puzzles. They're not really like straightforward bash the motherfucker and he dies. Like, you know, you actually have to think about how you're gonna enter these situations. So when that part ended, I had a giant sigh of relief. All right, this should kill it, hopefully. Oh God. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, we're done. Don't y'all ever leave me again.
Never again.
You okay?
No! Red had a whole dungeon to himself with you know, his own character skills. And Red and Barrett are honestly paired together, probably more than the rest of the party is. You're going to learn how to use them two together. And it just kind of feeds into their bond that they have through the rest of the game. As much as they're together, they don't really get along like that until Red's backstory dungeon. And then after that, you know, they're like best buddies. Even to the point where like Barrett doesn't call Red anymore. He calls him by his real name for like the rest of the game. Definitely a detail that I personally enjoyed seeing, just to show, you know, how much their bond changed over the course of the game. So yeah, like anytime the party is split or anytime a party is forced on you, generally there's focus on a single character. You're not necessarily by yourself all the time, which is good. They're not necessarily forcing you to use that character by themselves. Like I said, aside from K-Sith. I will say there were a lot of times where I wish that they had some kind of materia loadout system, because the amount of times that they force different characters on you, you're gonna have to switch materia from characters you were using, or for like different combat trials or whatever else, like you're gonna have to switch characters a lot, and you have to end up pulling materia from a lot of those characters that you were using to the new ones that you're about to use. And that is a very, very time consuming and tedious process. If there is any way that they can make a loadout system for materia for the next game, be so much better. It's like they made it to where, you know, your weapons will keep the same materia, but they need to have something where it's like, okay, you have a certain amount of sets per character, and you can just like. So I finally kind of realized what dynamic mode was doing. Dynamic mode was basically keeping you from being overpowered in the game. After I finished the game and started going back and trying to do like other side stuff, I've just noticed that like all the levels of like combat simulator trials and stuff like that were kind of close to my level, even though I unlocked them like way earlier in the game. So then I switched it to normal, and then all the true levels of what they're supposed to be popped up. I was like level 40 something at the time, and some missions went back as far as like level 20 or whatever, and then when I switched it back, they all sank back up to like level 45, 46, something like that. And you can assume that goes for like the rest of the world too, in terms of like enemy encounters and bosses and stuff like that. If you've kind of already surpassed the level requirement, it just syncs up to maybe like 2-3 levels below you, so you don't feel like incredibly overpowered when you're challenging these things, which is cool, you know, if you want to constantly have that challenge throughout the game instead of like just walking through stuff. Now that I understand what's happening, I kind of like the approach they did with that. In terms of the map, so this map is a lot bigger than I think we originally gave it credit for. Before I get to that, I think last time I told y'all I was in the Corel region exploring that. By the time I recorded the video, I was already in Gungaga, and then after that was Nibelheim and Cosmo Canyon. And the regions get more and more complex as you go through them. Like Gungaga was the first one that really was like, okay, this place is kind of confusing, but at the same time, I like really liked it. I think that was my favorite place out of all of them, just because of how dense it was. Like it really felt like you were in a forest and like trying to figure out how to get to one point to the other. That was really cool. Like it was just aesthetic. It was aesthetically pleasing for one. That place really felt immersive. And you know, and I guess you know this name and you know the Crisis Core stuff popping up. I'll get to that. After that, I'd probably say Nibelheim because of how simple it was. I think by the time you get to Nibelheim, the devs definitely were like, okay, you probably had enough of trying to like clear these areas. So they give you a fucking flying chocobo that you can go wherever the fuck you want to, pretty much. And it's basically wide open space. So right at the point where you're just like, oh God, another region, they make that region pretty simple to go through, which thank goodness. Because Cosmo Canyon, it was good. It was good. I kind of got a little tired of the chocobo gliding. Figuring out the damn gliding puzzle of like trying to see which platforms lead to which areas, that was kind of annoying sometimes, because I would just see a place on the map and I'd spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get there, and it was just like, oh, you got to go over here and glide from this high point all the way over to this high point to get to this high point. It's like, okay. But again, like a very, very, very well thought out, well designed region. They really brought all the regions of Final Fantasy VII to life in this game, more than I could have possibly ever imagined. And I really think they did a good job with that. But that is not all that's on part of this map. The giant ass body of water that's in the middle of the damn map, you can actually go across that shit. I was not ready for that when that happened. I did not think that they were gonna let you use a tiny Bronco like that. For some reason, I just didn't expect it to be in the game. I don't know why, but I didn't expect that form of transportation to like be in this game. But they did it. And at first, like when you get it, you're kind of just traveling to a specific point. But no, like after that, they let you go across the whole ocean. There are like islands in the middle of the ocean that you can visit and like, you know, do some fights and get some treasure and whatnot. I was like, holy shit. Now, there's nothing really to do out there besides like the things I just mentioned. Outside of that, you're just kind of just going across the water and having these weird weather time of day changes for whatever reason. So it really feels like that part of the game is like a setup or like maybe like a beta test for what they want to do in the next one in terms of like actually traveling across the world freely. They were kind of just testing the waters literally with this one. Because there's not a lot to do. It's more of just to see if it worked or not, and if like the game engine can handle loading all those assets, you know, in real time and whatever. But at the same time, it was like really cool that, you know, they actually even did that. And I hope that however they make this shit work when flying, because you get a tease of flying here. You don't really get to control much. You're on a straight path flying across the area. They give you like a little control of like shimmying left or right, but you're pretty much on rails. They've kind of got the groundwork set up for free travel. Let's see how it really comes to fruition in the next game. I'm really excited to see how that works. And let's talk about some of the extra stuff. So it took me about 90 some odd hours to finish the game, and I was doing a lot of the side content. I didn't do all of it because at some point I just needed to finish the game so I could come on here and talk to you guys. But yeah, completing this game is gonna suck ass. I went into this not necessarily wanting to complete it like on my first playthrough, but wanting to probably do it later or continue playing it after the main story was done because I did that for a remake. Now I'm not so sure, bro. Mainly because of all the mini games and the hard modes a lot of them have.
Oh, hell no.
You're gonna fail a lot, or at least I am. I know I am gonna fail a lot. They don't make it easy to like get back in there and retry. Here's a loading screen for all this shit. A lot of the times, if it's a combat trial, you can re-challenge it right away, yes, but you have to re-challenge it with the same setup that you had just used. You're not allowed to change anything in between tries while still like being in the simulator. You have to back all the way out. And even like, not in the simulator, but even like just the combat arena, you have to back all the way out, change your party around, and change the material again, which if there was material loadout system, it'd be a lot less time consuming, but no. You gotta change your party around, then go back in and then select it and hope that works. And if it doesn't work, you gotta do the process over again if you think you need to make a change. That is a very, very, very time consuming process if you fail over and over and over and over again. And that kind of sucks the fun out of it. And it seems like most of them, like especially the hard mode versions of them, or getting the top score on most of them, requires a like basically perfect execution. And there's very little margin for error, if any at all. So just getting that right on the first try is just like damn near impossible. Getting around the second or third try is probably not going to happen either. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error trying to get this right, and the time it takes to just retry just kind of sucks. Not for everything, but mainly the combat ones and some others that I am blanking on right now. So if I do, you know, try this stuff, I will definitely be using the guide. I have no shame. I am a grown-ass adult and I ain't got time for that shit. My pride has been shot down, eaten, and spit on throughout this entire game, okay? So you know what? You know, I deserve reparations, and I'm gonna take it in the form of using, you know, online guides. If you have a problem with it, too bad it's not your game. Like I mentioned in the last video, there are a lot of mini games in this game, and I think I need to clarify some things. Like, yes, not all of them are required for story progression, only a few are. I don't think they take away from the game as much if you're just doing like a regular story run through. But if you're trying to experience all the game has to offer, sometimes it can kind of get a little bit annoying that there are so many of them, and the fatigue kind of starts to grow, at least for me. Especially if you're like going in blind with this game and not looking anything up. You'll remember that in Remake, story interactions and different scenes were tied to side missions and mini games that you completed. So going into this and the fear of missing that stuff, you know, you're kind of going in wanting to complete everything that you can, in order so you can get all those extra scenes that add to the story and add to the characters and whatever else. Now, did that actually come into fruition? There's a couple that I've seen that kind of do. Red's date was one. I didn't get that. My date was with Era because I think she's probably the easiest one to get. So I wasn't going for that. But yeah, his date kind of reveals some information that is kind of weird that you would lock behind like a character bond system and stuff like that, where it just makes you want to try and do everything that you can so you don't miss anything. And the fashion in which they throw up new shit in your face, it's kind of like like I want to continue, but like there's something over here that like maybe something else will happen if I do that really quick before I move on. It's like it's a giant ass tug of war on your heart and mind. And they even like pull that again, like right before the very end, right when you get the tiny Bronco to sail across the water, a whole bunch of missions and Queen's Blood players pop up and they're like, hey, new stuff has popped up all over the world. You've already explored the entire map already. And they're like, new stuff has popped up in every region. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to me? You're gonna do this to me at the climax of the story. Why would you do this right now? And even if you try to do some of it and come back later, they're like, nah, if you go to the Temple of the Ancients right now, you're not gonna be able to come back for a while. And it's just like, well, I have no choice now. I have to do this shit. Or at least, you know, the OCD in me is like, you know, I have to do this shit now. Because what if there's something extra here that is cool and it's gone if I don't, you know, do it now. So yeah. there's a lot of stuff in here. I am glad they made a content-rich game that is actually like full of quality content in it. I think minus the map icons. I know I was like kind of praising them a little bit in the previous video, but I think I was more praising that it was fun to just kind of come across stuff in the world more than it was like the actual activities, like the towers, the life springs, the summon entities. That stuff I could have done without, because that, like I said, that point just felt like a Ubisoft game that they made. It was busy work. It was just busy work that it felt like. The rest of the mini games, while they might not be my personal favorite, a number of them, I wouldn't go as far as to say is that they're bad. I genuinely think a lot of like time, like quality was put into those mini games, and they're generally good for what they are. I just might not like playing all of them like that. I just wish there was a better balance between, you know, how much they throw at you in terms of like the missions and the mini games versus, you know, like the actual storytelling. And maybe it's up to you to like kind of figure that balance out in terms of like what you want to tackle. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like maybe not even in terms of like the amount, but just, you know, how this doled out at you. Because the game is front loaded a lot with the mini games. After Corel, that stuff kind of dies down a bit, and then you kind of just focus on like the icons on the world map and then the main story. And then the side missions. The only one that's pretty consistent is Queen's Blood, because that has a whole side story to itself. But once all that's done and you hit the Temple of the Ancients, that Temple of the Ancients is like a straight shot to the end. And it is long as hell. I was not expecting that part to be as long as it was. It is like a couple hours of gameplay trying to get through that ending. So that took some, like the end game of this game is, yo. So yeah, gameplay, I still find this game very enjoyable to play, regardless of, you know, all the stuff that's in it, all the stuff that can distract you. It's still incredibly fun to play. I was never like dreading anything I had to do. Frustrated. Definitely frustrated. Some stuff definitely didn't feel fair. Odin and Gilgamesh's island, I'm looking straight at you. Oh no. Don't tell me. Please don't tell me. You can't be serious. Oh, this is some bullshit, man. What the f? But still, like, it's not like you have to have that much trouble. Like I said, there's easy, there's normal. My choice to play on dynamic mode didn't help my frustration with some of this stuff. But I did it to myself. There's multiple ways to play this game. It's not one single way. So you can play the game the way that makes it the most fun to you. And I think that's a key point here. This game is designed so you can have fun with it however you want. And I think they did a really good job with that. Now, something I didn't mention in my previous video was the music. The music in this game is fucking fire, bro. I cannot wait for this soundtrack to come out. Yo, my Spotify playlist is already filled with like Final Fantasy VII Remake music. And now whenever this hits, if it hasn't already, it's gonna be filled with Rebirth music, okay? A lot of old songs from Remake return. Honestly, a lot of old songs in general return. We got the best song out of Remake.
Oh, it looks like we have ourselves a volunteer.
Who? Me?
Fight me. And then like we got Crisis Core music, bro. Like I popped hard when we got to Gungaga and the Crisis Core theme started kicking in. I was like, there's no way.
Welcome to Gungaga. I'm Cisne, Coalition Captain. And sorry, didn't mean to startle you before. Just doing our jobs.
I don't know, for some reason I was just like, they're not gonna put that music. Like, you have not heard that music in any other game since. So why would they put it in this? But they did it. And even more than that, bro, we got the price of freedom. My heart was so happy when we heard it.
Take control.
Wait, is this
To know
price of
that
freedom?
I had a choice. That this path, this world was one I chose. I wanted to take back my life.
They actually use it. I can't believe it. Oh shit. We also got some new tracks too. The song for the game, was it which I don't know. The song for the thugs. That song was really funny and I really liked it. As well as a song for like whenever you're interacting with a dog. And like even the marketing team knows what's up on that song. Like, bro, they know what's going on. I really appreciate how they managed to do the music in this game. It feels like pretty much every song that you walk around to has some kind of combat version to it. And the way they smoothly did that was just amazing. And they all sound great. Like they all ramp up appropriately. Their battle versions are just as good as, if not better than, you know, the regular version. The songs that I just mentioned included.
You sure you want to fight?
Also like how some people, not me, definitely not me, but some people have realized that the music in certain moments was like foreshadowing events of the story. And if that was true, that's really cool too. Other things like, I had to see this from somebody else. I did not even realize there's a point where Yuffie starts singing that she's bored to death. And I thought she was just bullshit, but she's actually singing her original theme from Final Fantasy VII.
I am so bored right out of my brain. If I don't die first, bet y'all go insane.
So that's really cool too. Like a whole bunch of things are integrated in this game in just creative ways and different ways. Like, and it's always kind of surprising you. The only downside to the audio is just the music can overpower the character voices. I mean, you can try and fix that in the settings. When I tried to do it, it was like always too low or too high. I could never really find a good medium for me. So that's one thing. The mixing was kind of not the greatest during my playthrough. I think I experienced one lockup during the game. So that's like a performance thing. And even like performance wise, like they did update the performance settings. They gave you a 60 FPS with sharper image quality. It helps a little bit, but it wasn't enough to where I felt like I wanted to switch from you know, the graphical mode itself. And I've still been enjoying my time with it. Although I do want to go back and play through the game on hard mode once I get to like a point where I feel like I can go through that mode. But I think I want to play through that on performance mode just to, you know, see how fluid everything moves. Since I didn't get to do that this first time around, and I'm not going to care about, you know, how crisp everything looks since I've already seen it. Other things, they're really trying to like, I guess, push the PS5 controller on you. Like they really make use of like the triggers and all that stuff to the point where some of this stuff is just like, did you really need to do that? Like there are a couple of cutscene interactions where it's just like, bro, okay, do I really need to be doing this? It's not gonna make a difference. All you're doing is just like, you're keeping me paying attention to what's going on the screen, but what's going on the screen is being dragged out because you're making me play this stupid ass mini game or mini quick time event, whatever you want to call it. Like this didn't need to be here. It's not adding to the experience in really in a impactful way. But yeah, other than that though, like again, like I said, I really enjoyed my time with this game. Honestly, when the credits rolled, I was sad that I was sad the adventure was over. I really was. I didn't want it to end. I was having a lot of fun going through this game. I don't know, it just hit really hard that there's no more to this game aside from like the extra side content. Yes, there's all of that there, but like, you know, the adventure, this is the stopping point for this adventure for now. And we have to wait another 4 or 5 years for the next part. If you haven't already, you go watch the behind the scenes series that Square Enix has put out on YouTube. I think there's like 4 parts to it, and then there's like another video with Uematsu. I highly suggest you go watch that because it really puts into perspective how they designed this game, why they're designing this game the way it is. And you can really feel that there's a lot of genuine care put into making this game. You know, a lot of people want to say it's a cash grab, and like, yeah, of course it is. It's Final Fantasy VII. Why? It's duh. Like anything Final Fantasy VII is a cash grab, whether they, you know, that's the intent or not. But for this game specifically, and the trilogy as a whole, like you can really tell like there's some legit thought being put into this game. Everybody that speaks, you know, is wanting to make this game the best that it can be. You know, even Nomura, who's like, he said. Dude, Nomura was like, bro, I just want this shit to be over with, dog. Even though he feels like that, he still wants to make this the best it can be. And like they're pushing the fact that it's not supposed to be the same game that you played back in the 90s. It is supposed to be a reimagining with honestly a more realized version of what they wanted to do back then that they just couldn't technically do. So they're bringing all those ideas they had back then to the forefront now. And even, you know, expanding on some of those concepts that they might have wanted to do then. And to them, it wouldn't be fun to make the same game. Maybe to us, because we, you know, we have a certain way that we looked at that past game. But, you know, the old game is still there. There's some sympathy there for those that, you know, want to see the same story just modern. And, you know, I was one of those people too. I was definitely one of those people that wanted just to have the same game over again. But to be fair, like for the most part, it kind of is. It's like all the same stuff is there. It's not necessarily the same order that you might have experienced it in. Some of that stuff wasn't even necessary in the original game. So I kind of just feel like they took some of that stuff out to make the story kind of flow better. And this one, I'm open-minded to whatever they decide to expand upon and change because again, like, we know what the story is. It wouldn't be as exciting if we knew exactly what was going to happen. There would be nothing to talk about if it was the same game over again. And I think that's a key thing here is that we have something to talk about with these games now. And I can't wait to talk about them more when the next part comes out and when the whole trilogy finishes. The discussions around this game will be very, very, very interesting. And I can't wait to see it. So those are my thoughts of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. What are your thoughts on everything I mentioned in this game? The story elements, the ending, the character bonds, combat, forms of exploration, and of course the music. What are your thoughts on all that stuff? I like to hear, you know, what your experiences were in the comments down below. If you like this video and you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe and like button. Very much appreciate that. As well as follow me on social media. You can find links to that in the description box below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Russ, practically out. Later.